And we now look to Salman Khurshid to continue the case for the proposition.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm intrigued by my learned colleague on the other side regretting many dimensions of government of Mr. Modi, and yet saying carry on because there is no alternative. I thought this was about the now and here. It is about confidence in Mr. Modi, or the lack of it. It is not about what will happen in the future. I'm surprised that Mr. Modi's influence has reached corridors of Oxford, that he speaks only of the past and of the future, never of the present. And this debate is about the present. It's in the present that Mr. Modi stands defeated. It's in the present that Mr. Modi needs to be rejected, not for the past. And let me just tell you, just in case someone tells you that everything I say was taught to me by Jawaharlal Nehru, and that everything that's wrong in the country is because of Jawaharlal Nehru. Jawaharlal Nehru has been dead many decades, but Mr. Modi hasn't discovered that. But what Mr. Modi has discovered, is if you want to attack an enemy, do it when there are clouds all around, because the radar. Furthermore, Mr. Modi discovered the digital camera long before Oxford discovered it, and Mr. Modi certainly discovered the internet before the United States of American military discovered it. Now, that's the kind of world of fiction in which we've been made to live for 5 years. When I came for this debate, I asked myself a serious question. There is a serious danger and a fear that when you speak on foreign soil, you stand to be dubbed someone who's betrayed the nation. I have experienced this before. I've experienced it at Harvard, and I'm going to experience it at Oxford. Because anything I say, not very complimentary to Mr. Modi, would be reported in India as sedition, as questioning India, not Mr. Modi. And that's the critical question that I place before you. Are we here discussing India, or are we discussing Mr. Modi? Mr. Modi believes that India begins and ends with him, and Mr. Modi believes that history begins and ends with him. There was no history before 2014, and if Mr. Modi is to lose in 2019, there will be no history after 2019. I will tell my worthy friend from across the floor that he is concerned about the free time that I've had in the last 5 years. I'm willing to provide more free time to myself as long as it means coming to Oxford again and again and encountering all these brilliant people here, but not free time at the expense of not being free myself, for anything I said in Oxford to be treated as sedition, and for me not to have free time anymore, but to visit the nearest jail in Delhi and to be there a guest of Mr. Modi for the next 5 years. And therefore I say one thing to you. I saw a film called Patton, in which at a particular critical moment, General Patton wakes up and he sees the panzers of Rommel advancing towards the American army. And he says, what a waste of time. Why don't we just, both of us, Rommel and I, take one tank each and go out into the desert and then fight it out and let that decide what the outcome of this war will be. Why kill so many people? Why destroy so much property? Why don't I then suggest, Madam President, that you send a message to Mr. Modi and say, come to the Oxford Union, let's settle this in the Oxford Union once for all. Let Oxford Union decide whether we need to go and do what we are doing in the country today, that we are lynching people, that we are attacking institutions, we're destroying traditions that we have held to be extremely important in our country, and indeed doing something that even Americans now understand means a division of a country. The great divider. Mr. Modi has the word great stick to him in everything. It was the great successor, it was the great aspirational person, it was the great savior, and now he's become the great divider. Somebody who to the world appears a great divider should not anymore be the Prime Minister of our land. And therefore, I say it is important that Oxford sends this message and the Oxford Union sends this message that this is time to say we no longer have confidence in Mr. Modi. The critical problem with Mr. Modi is that his idea of India differs from the idea of India that anybody has ever had. India is a syncretic country. India is a country made up of people of different religions, of different ideas, plural and syncretic. And for Mr. Modi, it is India that has one kind of people, one language, one kind of dress, one kind of food, one kind of conduct, one kind of behavior, and one kind of leader. And that leader would be like Mr. Modi. The issue is not what we think of Mr. Modi. The issue is what Mr. Modi's supporters think of Mr. Modi. And you can see clearly from the speech that was just made from across the floor that they are now apologists for Mr. Modi, saying let him be because nobody else is better than him. In democracy, you test every 5 years as to whether you can find somebody better than the man or the woman who has been ruling you for 5 years. And I believe the time has come for India to say, let this man go, and let this man disappear, and let India discover, let India experiment with something new. You have a problem with dynasty. Then let me just ask, if you have a problem with dynasty, why Mr. Modi chose to field someone called Maneka Gandhi, and why did he choose to field someone called Varun Gandhi, two people belonging perhaps to a dynasty, certainly carrying that name, if not that ideology. Is that an exception that Mr. Modi can make for a dynasty? A dynasty there, at least 26 dynasties adorn the top echelons of the BJP. The fact remains that there is a reluctance to speak the truth. Speak the truth and persuade the people on the truth. Instead, all we get is what is called fake news. All we get is what is fake hope. All we get is what you call fake future. Now, I say that instead of fake news, fake future, and fake hope, let us now be honest and truth to ourselves. And truthfully, what we need to do is to remove Mr. Modi from office. I have voted barely 2 weeks ago, and I come here with the mark of the vote that we get in our country. And this mark of the vote, I hope, will contribute to a brilliant, beautiful future for our country. But that future has no place for a man called Narendra Modi. Thank you very much.